So I want to welcome you all to the introductory webinar for Daat Elyon's new course, Between Heaven and Earth. And this course looks at what does the tradition tell us about how we bring heaven down to earth. The work that has to happen, transformations that have to take place, and the shift in awareness that has to develop and become fully alive. Now, as always, I begin our sessions with a few minutes of meditation, because the meditations opens up our consciousness, expands our mind, and opens up the heart. And that allows us to receive the teaching from a different place, allows the words to flow into us and reach right into the heart of our being, so that they become living teaching and not simply ideas floating around our mind. So find yourself a comfortable position and relax every part of your body, beginning with your head and your shoulders, bring all the way down to your toes. Begin to breathe in and out. Focusing your mind on the movement of your breath. And as you breathe, everything else fade into the background. Sounds, movement around you, noise coming from outside. And all of the thoughts swirling around your head, it all recede far off into the distance. You feel that it no longer belongs to you. And place the whole of your attention on the intake and outflow of the breath. And as you breathe, feel your body relax. Emotions quiet down. Your mind becomes still. That body, mind, and spirit all aligned together. Feel that you're resonating with the rhythm of your whole being. Feel that you're resonating with everyone in this cyberspace meditation room, wherever they are located across the globe. All of us are joined together by a golden thread of light and consciousness that binds us as one. Feel that you're resonating with everything in your surroundings. So that your whole being is attuned to the inhalation and exhalation of all of life. Don't forget about your breathing and rest in the stillness and the silence. Welcome everyone once again to the introductory webinar for the new Daat Elyon course, Between Heaven and Earth. The title of this course reflects our mystical tradition's understanding of the purpose of our existence. Kabbalah sees the collective task of humanity as nothing less than to reveal the kingdom of heaven upon earth. Tekein olam b'malchut Shaddai, Hebrew. To bring the power of the spiritual realm down into our physical plane of consciousness. This ideal of revealing heaven on earth is concretized through several key ideas that permeate all of Kabbalistic teaching, which are based on the central beliefs of Judaism. The first concept that plays an essential role in this work is the Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the feminine aspect of deity. She has many dimensions to her nature. We'll begin the course by exploring the nature of the Shekhinah from the perspective of energy. We'll discover that the energy of the Shekhinah is the most powerful force in the universe. It's the energy that created all of existence. It's the energy that lifts us up into the divine. According to the tradition, there are 3 lines of energy that run through the cosmic tree of life, the structure composed of 10 energies that is the backbone of the universe, and that then flows through our personal tree of life, the subtle body of spiritual centers that underlies our physical form. Let us take a look together at a text which is the basis of this teaching from the 16th century mystic, Rabbi Isaac Luria, also known as the Ari, the lion, who lived in the northern Israeli city of Sfat. Safed. So here he's describing the ways in which the 10 Sefirot, the divine attributes, manifest in the universe. Second manner in which the 10 Sefirot manifest is as a ray of direct light in the shape of 3 lines, like the form of the supernal man, composed of 10 Sefirot, according to the hidden meaning of the images of righteous man of full stature, composed of 248 limbs, drawn in the form of 3 lines, right, left, and center, made up of 10 Sefirot. And this second manifestation is called the image of God. And this, Tselem Elohim in Hebrew. And this form of the Sefirot is hinted at in the Torah by the verse, and God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him and her. Now here we have a chart of the traditional tree of life, which can allow you to see that structure. You have 10 Sefirot, all numbered, and you have a right-hand column, which is the column of chesed, of loving kindness or mercy. You have a left-hand column, which is the column of judgment or deen. Then you have a central column, which is the column of the Shekhinah, through which the Shekhinah energy flows and rises up from the bottom sphere up into the crown. Finally, just to give you a way of seeing it connected to the body, here we can connect now those Sefirot into the energy centers in the body. Malchut at the bottom, kingship or sovereignty, Yesod, foundation. Then you have a Sefirah with 2 aspects, Netzach and Hod, eternity and splendor, left and right dimensions. Tiferet, the heart center, beauty. Chesed, Gvurah, mercy and power, the throat center. Chochmah, Binah, wisdom and understanding. The head center, calling these the third eye. And then the center at the top of the head and the crown, Keter. So these are the 3 lines, the column again, path of loving kindness on the right-hand side, chesed, left-hand column, the path of judgment, the deen, and the middle column is the path through which the Shekhinah energies flows. And as we've seen in the Ari's conception of our subtle body, there's different spiritual centers called Sefirot in Hebrew, and they're aligned with the different parts of the physical body, as we showed in that diagram. And the bottom center of Sefirah is called sovereignty or Malchut, and it is the central dwelling place of the Shekhinah energy. In yoga, this powerful creative force is called the Kundalini energy, and it too lies dormant in the bottom center and is depicted as coiled up like a sleeping serpent, ready to awaken and rise up all the way to the crown. Now, extraordinary importance is placed on this energy in the Kabbalah and in many other mystical traditions, and great awe and reverence surrounds the process of its awakening and use. In fact, our relationship with the Shekhinah is central to the teachings and practices of both the Kabbalah and Hasidism. The Baal Shem Tov, the 18th century mystic and founder of Hasidism, teaches that, quote, we should always seclude our thoughts with the Shekhinah. We should only think of our love for her, that she is bound to us and we to her. And we should be constantly repeating to ourselves in our mind as we go through our day, when will I merit to have the light of the Shekhinah dwell within me? End of quote. The Baal Shem Tov's great-grandson, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, took this idea one step further. He taught that the key to the redemption of Israel is for us to raise up the Sphira of Malchut, clearly a direct reference to the work of awakening and raising the Shekhinah energy up through the centers, up from the lowest center of sovereignty or Malchut to the crown center, Keter, at the top of the head. And we also find in the teachings of the Uri that most of his mystical formulations of Kavanot focus on raising up the Shekhinah from the bottom center of sovereignty or Malchut to unite with the holy, blessed one in the heart center, beauty, or Tiferet. And then to lift both of them up to the sphere of understanding or Bina in the head center, the third eye. Now, because of the great power of the Shekhinah energy, the teachings and practices related to its use have always been carefully guarded and protected. In fact, for most of our history, the knowledge about the Shekhinah energy had been hidden from the masses and taught only in secret mystical circles composed of carefully selected seekers and adepts. For examples, for centuries, only someone who was married and in their 40s was allowed to learn Kabbalah, and its study was restricted exclusively to males. No woman was permitted to learn its teachings. Of course, today, all that has changed and is continuing to change as the restrictions are cast aside. This new openness is a sign of the tremendous shift in the status of women in the world. It's an expression of the profound present-day interest in spiritual matters, as well as the outcome of the wider awakening of this energy and consciousness in human awareness. The energy and consciousness of the Shekhinah is coming to the fore all across the world. When I first learned about these teachings in the 70s, nobody had ever heard about the Shekhinah. In more recent years, one of our dear friend's mother in her 80s went to a gym to do some yoga. And there, my friend came with his mother and they were talking about the Kundalini. He says, yeah, the Shekhinah energy, she says, as if it was something that everybody knew, how things have changed. So in this course, we will learn about the role of the Shekhinah energy in our history and all of the great events that she set in motion, from the creation itself to the great miracles in Egypt, to the reclaiming of our ancient homeland in modern times. We'll see how Moses wielded this energy in Egypt, and we will learn how we also can employ the Shekhinah energy to protect ourselves and our nation through prayer and meditative practices. Here's an example of such a prayer adapted from the traditional evening service. Cause us, our mother, to lie down in peace and rise again to enjoy life. Spread yourself over us, O covering of peace. Guide us with your good counsel and save us for the sake of your name. Be a shield about us, turning away every enemy, disease, violence, hunger, and sorrow. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are a God who guards and protects us, a mother of mercy and compassion. Guard us when we go out, when we come in, to enjoy life and peace, both now and forever. Spread yourself over us, O shelter of peace. Blessed are you, O Mother, who spreads herself as a shelter of peace over us, over the people of Israel, and over the whole world. After connecting to her power of protection, we will learn how the Shekhinah's creative power awakens inspiration, creativity, and wisdom in our hearts and minds. There are many examples of such inspiration. Example in the arts. There are inspirational painting and sculptures by European artists like William Blake and Michelangelo. There is celestial music by the likes of Mozart and Brahms. In the realms of spiritual wisdom, there are many examples from the mystics of the different faiths. In Judaism, we have the centuries-old example of Shimon Bar Yochai, who meditated in a cave and experienced the visions that are at the heart of the foundational work of the Kabbalah, the Zohar. I also have the example of Rabbi Isaac Luria, the Ari, who experienced expansive visions and received groundbreaking ideas while meditating in a hut on the Nile River for 7 years. Ideas like the contraction of the divine light, cosmic shattering and repair, and the great divine beings called the divine countenances, the Patsufim, who bind all of existence into one living organism with their light and consciousness. And all these inspirations were the result of the individuals tapping into the energy of the Shekhinah, the powerful inner processes that awoke in their consciousness. In biblical times, the knowledge and control of this energy was at the heart of the training in the prophetic schools. We will learn how the prophetic candidates were guided in the process of raising up the Shekhinah energy through their centers in their bodies, and how this established them in divine awareness and gave them the ability to perform the many miracles that they did. Then we'll move on from investigating the Shekhinah energy on itself, on its own, and we'll move to exploring the soul of the Shekhinah. We'll discover that the Shekhinah is a unique kind of soul that is intrinsically linked to the feminine. Women are the great carriers of this energy. And this is a fact of which the Kabbalah and other mystical traditions around the world have always been aware. We will learn about the lives of those who are part of the soul, and about the special inner work they undertake to develop this energy and raise it up to the highest center of the crown, the will of God, Keter. We will hear about the extraordinary power of someone who achieves this level of spiritual evolution. Such a person becomes a precious divine instrument that can emanate the energy of the will of God into the hearts and minds of people everywhere. After delving more deeply into the whole nature and purpose of the soul of Shekhinah, we'll then turn back in time to see how this soul and energy manifested and expressed itself in ancient Israel. We will learn about the unique role of the Shekhinah in the two temples in ancient Jerusalem, how the temples help us to define sacred space and sacred being. How the whole structure and life in the temples were constructed and arranged to manifest these spiritual principles and ideals. We will see how the temples were built around ever more restricted areas to protect the sanctity of the space, and how those that entered the different spaces of the temple needed to live ever more sanctified lives in order to create a pure and high vibration environment in which the energy could flow in its fullness. And we will observe how this separation and restriction enabled the Shekhinah energy to be held in a pristine, high voltage condition within the Holy of Holies as a great reservoir of spiritual power. We will learn how this incredible force manifested its presence in the temple and emanated out throughout all of Israel in the ancient world. Perhaps the most dramatic expression of the use of the Shekhinah energy came on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, which we celebrate this coming week. The whole nation spent this day in prayer and fasting. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims were crowded into the temple area on this sacred occasion. The high priest followed an elaborate ritual throughout this solemn and sacred day that included fasting, ritual immersions, 5 changes of clothing, and numerous sacrificial offerings. The climax of the worship, the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, entered the Holy of Holies with an incense offering. When he re-emerged, he blessed the people using the sacred name of God. When the high priest pronounced the divine name, he emanated such tremendous power that all those in the temple area were thrown on their faces in awe. This day, at this moment, the purity of the high priest, the aspirations of the people in prayer and fasting, combined together with the potency of the name and the Shekhinah energy to bring through an extraordinary spiritual force. This force cleansed the people of all their spiritual impurities and wiped away their sins, cleared the pathways of all their inner connections in the tree of life. It was, in the most glorious sense of the term, a day of atonement and forgiveness. Of course, we will not only talk about what happened in the temple, we will also apply the teachings on the temple to our own personal lives. We will learn how we can use the temple's example to create sacred space and sacred being that will fill our homes and our surroundings with the living presence of the divine. Once we have gone deeply into these subjects of the Shekhinah and the temples, we will then zoom out and expand into the far reaches of our universe and our own consciousness, where we will look at the whole process of how the divine will and the absolute, in Hebrew, the Ein Sof, that which is without end, flows down through all the worlds to become manifest on our physical plane of existence. We will see how the eternal will descends through the 4 mystical realms of emanation, or Atzilut in Hebrew, creation, or Bria, formation, or Yetzirah, an action, or a seer. Let's now look at these four realms in some greater depth, beginning with the highest realm. But as we go through the realms, please keep in mind that they're not stacked up in a linear fashion. Rather, they all interpenetrate one into the other. So first, realm of emanation, Atzilut, is composed of pure energies. In this realm, nothing exists except the interaction between the divine emanations. Here we have the archetypes of the five divine countenances, the Partsufim, and the expression of their powerful will. Creation, Bria, is the realm of thought, the plane of the mind. In Bria, everything is composed of mental matter. This is the world of souls. The souls dwell in the most subtle form of bodies composed of light. They communicate directly from mind to mind. This world is the destination of the humans who've passed out of incarnation. Formation, Yetzirah, is the dominion of the emotions. It is the astral plane. The psychic is the main form of communication here. Therefore, the angelic kingdom predominates in this domain. Psychic is the medium of angelic communication. Both in the highest and the lowest, they rely heavily on this sense. So this is where humans in physical incarnation make contact with the plant, animal, and angelic kingdoms in the sphere of feelings. The world of action, Asiya, is the realm of the concrete. It is the most densely physical of the worlds. It functions through the experience of the senses. It is the region that we know best. Now, once we have explored the four realms, we will investigate and seek to understand the role of the Shekhinah and the temple in all these higher domains. We will learn about the temple composed of spiritual fire in the supernal worlds, the Mikdash Shel Eish, that was shown to Moshe, to Moses, and about its relationship to the physical temple on a material plane of existence. And then we'll use all of the above information to help us understand how we bring the divine down into our own personal lives. To help us comprehend this process, we will explore how we create a thought and then manifest it in the world. For example, suppose we want to build a house. We begin with the desire to build a house. This is the world of emanation, Atzilut. This desire then becomes a thought in the mind, and gradually the thought takes on details and structure. This is the world of creation, Bria. Then we figure out what materials and expertise we need to bring our home into concrete form, and we create a plan for doing so. This is the world of formation, Yetzirah. Finally, we buy the materials, hire the necessary workers and craftsmen, follow our plan, and build the actual house. This is our world, the world of action, Asiya. In the last three series of the course, remember there's 7 mini-series that make up the course, we will look at the future of the work of uniting heaven and earth and the role of the Messiah within this larger spiritual mission. We will begin by recognizing that despite all our persecutions and sufferings down the centuries, Judaism is a religion of hope. We will see how hope is built into its teachings and worldview, how it is the force that has sustained us through all the long years of exile and tribulation, and how the coming of the Messiah is the natural culmination of this inspiring and empowering ideal. We will learn how hope took us out of Egypt, and hope has brought us back to the land in our modern times, both seemingly impossible tasks. And we will learn how hope can and will see us through all the difficulties and challenges that we now face as a people and a race. After all, our national anthem is Hatikva, the hope. Then we'll explore the groundwork that needs to be laid for this labor to come to fruition. We need to create a powerful shift in our perspective of life. We need to move towards the spiritual, towards oneness. We need to recognize a common identity as human beings and realize that the human race is an integral part of the larger organism, which is our planet. All of its myriad forms of interconnected life, both in this world and on the planes of earth in the supernal realms. We will come to understand that today there is a great need and longing for inner experience of the living divine presence, for understanding of the nature of the higher reality, and for the wisdom that comes both from the mystical tradition and from the latest revolutionary advances in the scientific fields. We'll see how this groundwork is manifesting in different ways all around the world. The new scientific breakthroughs, through the accumulation of near-death experience cases, NDEs, and through the tremendous cross-fertilization that has occurred out of the sharing of the teachings of the great religions and mystical traditions of humanity. We will grasp that each of us has a role to play in this unfolding process, and how the extent of our involvement is defined more by our aspiration and dedication than by any external law of predestined fate. In fact, the Baal Shem teaches that each of us has a spark of the Messiah within us. And for the Messiah to attain his or her full stature, all the sparks we hold need to be repaired. In a famous letter to his brother-in-law, the Baal Shem describes his great ascent into the supernal realms to encounter the Messiah himself. Face to face with the Messiah, the Baal Shem could not help but ask him, "When will you come?" The Messiah looked into the Baal Shem's eyes and declared, "When your teachings have become well known, and all that I have taught you and that you have achieved shall be revealed in the world. When your students shall be able to ascend on high and perform spiritual unions in the supernal worlds like you, then the husks of matter will be annihilated, and it will be a time of grace and salvation." In the last series of the course, we will contemplate the nature of the messianic age itself. We will discover that the revelation of the messianic consciousness is not a single event, but rather it is a whole unfolding process. We will delve into the different stages of its majestic unfolding, the great and little souls that will be part of this sacred mission, and the glorious reality that it will reveal upon earth. The central work of Jewish mysticism, the Zohar, offers us a wondrous and wonderful analogy for how that inner awakening will take place. I'd like to read to you from one of its passages. This text comes from the first book of the Zohar, page 170a. The time when God will raise Israel up and take them out of the exile, he will open for them a tiny opening of light, the narrowest of the narrow. And after that, another opening, which is a little bigger, till God opens for them the heavenly gates and open the four corners of the world. Everything that God does for Israel and for the righteous among them happens like this, and not all at once. Like a person placed in darkness who has always dwelled in darkness, when one wants to bring him or her into the light, you need to begin by opening a small aperture of light, like the eye of a needle. And afterwards, another opening that is a little bigger. And thus, each time a bit more, till finally you can shine the full light upon them. End of quote. I would like to end today's webinar with a meditation that brings the Messianic consciousness closer to us and connects us with that great soul. In approaching this meditation, it is important to understand that each great one who comes is part of the Messianic soul. Each is another part of this powerful and lofty spiritual collective. The particular part of the soul that comes is determined by our yearning and the preparation we undergo to pave the way for his or her arrival. So make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes and let go of all tension in your body. Breathe in, breathe out, focusing your mind, the movement of the breath. Everything else fade into the background, sounds around you, noise coming from outside. The thoughts running through your mind. Them all recede far off into the distance, so they disappear from your awareness. And all that remains is the intake and outflow of the breath. And as you breathe, your body relax, emotions quiet down, mind becomes still. Feel that body, mind, and spirit are all aligned together. Feel that you're resonating with the rhythm your whole being. Now turn your mind inward and look towards the Messianic soul. Yearn for the coming of the Great One, however you understand it. Send out an urgent cry to awaken the Messianic consciousness and bring it immense light and power down into our world. Join your heartfelt plea to the appeal of all those who are longing for the Messiah. All those who are striving to awaken that yearning in the hearts of humanity. All those who have taken up the work of preparing for his or her coming. Now visualize that great outpouring of longing as a tremendous burst of sound and energy that rises up into the higher worlds to penetrate into the Messianic soul and reverberate within its very heart. Imagine the response of the soul descending through the planes, gathering power and light as it enters our plane of existence and resounds within the hearts and minds of people everywhere across the globe. Now turn to the timeless, boundless one and ask for this vision to become a reality. For the great one, the Messiah or Messiahs that we sent down into our world. Let go of all images and rest in stillness and the silence. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for this webinar. If you have enjoyed the session, then please sign up for the course for the first mini-series, Shekhinah Energy. Just go to our website or to our Facebook page, datelyon.org, DAATELYON.org. The first item on the page will take you to the description of the course on our Academy page and lead you through the process of signing up. Shana Tova, wishing you all a good year. Gemar Chatima Tova. We all be sealed in the book of divine livingness. Forward to seeing you all when the course starts on October 23rd. Shalom.